It's recap time. 3, 2. Hey, quick interruption, Future Chip here. If you're coming from the previous video and you already know the drill, you can skip directly to the recap. Otherwise, if this is your first time, I'll let you with the intro and enjoy the episode. 1. Hello everybody and welcome to the Shower Podcast, the podcast where I'm in my shower and you do you. I'm your host Chip and this is not my usual intro. This is a bit of a special episode. Unfortunately, I will be away for a few days and I found out this interesting way of filling the gaps with recaps from previous episodes. If this is your first time here, use it as an opportunity to find topics that you might be interested in and go back to listen to the original ones. If you are a usual listener of the Shower Podcast, well, again, this might be a rehearsal of topics that you might be interested in. Otherwise, I understand if you want to wait for me to be back. But in the meanwhile, the podcast needs to continue and we need to reach day 365. Having said that, I will not keep you longer. Thank you very much for listening. As always, a like and a subscribe. They are always welcome. And now, recap time.
Welcome, everyone, to this special deep dive put together just for you. We're going to unpack the last few episodes of Shower Podcast with Sip that's numbers 46 through 50.
Yeah, a really interesting stretch of ideas he covered there.
Absolutely. And hey, if you missed them, no worries. Think of this as your quick catch-up guide.
And maybe it'll tempt you to go back and listen to the originals for, the full experience.
Exactly. So let's just jump right in. First up, episode 46, just called 46.
Right, 46. This one got into those often unseen backstories, the struggles people face before they, succeed.
Mm-hmm. But the key point he made, I think, was about where respect should lie.
Yeah, he argued it should be for the actual accomplishments, not just because someone had a hard time.
Yeah.
Though understanding the journey, that can definitely be inspiring.
For sure. It stops us maybe fixating only on the struggle. He brought up Casey Neistat.
Oh, yeah, the YouTube guy.
Right. Sip reminded us about his early days being a young dad, money troubles, all that stuff before he got famous.
And seeing him now with his kid, it really paints a picture of overcoming things. It makes you wonder how those early pressures might have shaped him,
Totally. It prompts you, the listener, maybe to think about people you admire. What hidden battles did they fight?
And then there was that other story, the Japanese DJ.
Yes. He apparently started his whole career after really serious illness, kind of forced a life change.
It's that idea, isn't it, that sometimes hitting rock bottom or something close can paradoxically push you towards something better, something more authentic.
He had a great line about it, something like, in these moments of need and of desperations where we give our best and we actually make a concrete change, really makes you think.
It does. That concept of post-traumatic growth. Sometimes bad stuff leads to good changes. Yeah. Have you ever found that in your own life? Maybe a tough time pushing you in an unexpected but ultimately good direction?
It's a good question. He also touched on how, our own problems can feel huge, overwhelming even.
Mm-hmm. All-consuming.
But learning about what others have overcome, especially successful people, it can give you some perspective maybe, contextualize your own stuff.
And that interesting side point about recognition wanting to be known for the achievement, not the illness or the struggle. He mentioned a model, right?
Yeah, wanting to be recognized as a model for her work, not just as someone who battled an illness. It raises that question about the narrative we focus on.
Triumph versus struggle.
Yeah.
Sip seems to lean toward focusing on the triumph, the strength, and the outcome.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Completely different vibe for episode 47. Find your croissant.
Ah, yes. This one was lovely.
Yeah.
Much lighter.
Totally. It's all about the power of small joys, little routines to kickstart your day positively.
The core idea is simple, really. Find a small thing you enjoy in the morning, and it can genuinely change your whole outlook, your mood for the day.
And he illustrates this perfectly with his own quest, the pistachio croissant saga.
Well, that was brilliant. Finding this amazing pastry, then the sheer drama, his word, when the store ran out.
He was mortified. It's so relatable, that kind of minor everyday crisis over a small pleasure. It's funny because it's true, right?
Definitely taps into that universal thing. We've all had that little quest for some small comfort food or item that just makes the day better. What's your version of that, maybe?
But the story has a happy ending. He finds another store, and guess what?
Better croissants.
Even better, and reliably there. So this small, almost silly search becomes this genuine anchor for his mornings.
And that leads directly to his advice for everyone listening. Start finding your croissant, whatever that thing is for you.
It's such practical advice, isn't it? Not about massive life changes. Just find that small, consistent, positive thing.
Mm-hmm. He even mentioned wanting to add a gym routine before the croissant.
Yeah.
Layering those good habits.
Yeah, though he said an injury was stopping him for now, but it shows that aspiration, that building process.
Exactly. Small, consistent choices adding up, not radical shifts.
Okay, so from croissants, we kind of swing the pendulum back towards effort with episode 48, Do Hard Things.
Right. This tackled that feeling of, well, being unstimulated, bored maybe, and why challenging ourselves is actually important.
The key insight felt like if you constantly avoid difficult things, life can feel kind of dull, stagnant.
Whereas embracing challenges, even small ones, builds that sense of growth, of accomplishment, keeps things interesting.
Sip talked about that blend and as basic as it gets Monday feel, you know, and he linked it directly to not having enough engaging challenges, especially since his injury was limiting physical stuff.
You could really feel his frustration there, not being able to do the things that usually push him. It shows how linked our physical and mental states are.
Totally. And then he mentioned wanting to study for some certification, something he knows is good for him, but...
Struggling to get started, that inertia.
Exactly. Which brought up another crucial point, needing to be comfortable with failure.
Ah, that's huge. Seeing failure not as an endpoint, but just like a step, part of the process of getting better.
Because that fear of messing up stops so many of us from even trying, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You also mentioned something interesting about collaboration.
Oh yeah, that shift from working alone, where you're fully in control, to working in a team.
And that self-doubt creeping in. Like, am I actually adding value here? Is my contribution good enough?
Such a relatable feeling in group settings, that vulnerability.
But the underlying message was still, do the hard things. Even if you stumble, the process itself is beneficial. It stretches your brain.
Right. That discomfort isn't necessarily bad. It can be a catalyst. He even admitted feeling a bit jealous of people who are okay without constant stimulation.
But for him, yeah, he seems to need that occasional push, that bit of productive discomfort.
Which actually leads quite nicely into the next one, episode 49, What If You're Wrong?
Ooh, I like this one. It's about questioning assumptions, being okay with not having the right answer immediately.
And how sometimes the simplest answer is just staring you in the face, but you're busy thinking up complex solutions.
The key insight being that the process of thinking, the questions you ask, can be more valuable than just landing on the correct answer straight away.
He used that classic Google interview question, didn't he? The blender one.
Yep. Shrunk to the size of a nickel, stuck in a blender about to turn on. How do you get out?
And everyone comes up with these crazy physics-based plans.
But the simple intended answer is just jump out before it starts.
It perfectly shows how we overcomplicate things. We miss the obvious sometimes.
Definitely. And that connects to his main point. Don't be afraid to be wrong.
Yeah. Embrace the possibility of being wrong as part of exploring a problem. The thinking matters more than the final answer, especially out here in the real world.
It's such a contrast to school, isn't it? Where it's all about getting the A, the right answer.
Totally. He observed that life often rewards grappling with messy questions, ones without easy answers, more than just knowing facts.
So the encouragement is basically don't overthink everything. Don't be scared to suggest the naive solution sometimes. It might just be the right one.
Be more curious, less afraid of looking silly. Okay, finally, episode 50. Oh, I love stress.
Huh. The title is a bit provocative, maybe.
A little tongue-in-cheek, yeah. But it digs into a more nuanced view of stress.
Exactly. It's not saying all stress is good, obviously. It's drawing a line between that awful, chronic, grinding stress
It wears you down.
and those short, sharp bursts of pressure that can actually be, well, stimulating, energizing even.
Sip was clear he doesn't like stress generally. He tries to avoid the bad kind.
But he admitted that certain types, like maybe an unexpected work crisis that needs immediate handling, afterwards there can be a strained sense of satisfaction.
Right. It's like, wow, I handled that. It highlights the difference between being constantly overloaded and facing a temporary, intense challenge.
That acute stress can sharpen your focus, give you that adrenaline push.
And he gave that great example of volunteering on that demanding trip to New York with teenagers.
Ah, yes, constant go, go, go. Very little sleep. Sounds stressful.
Totally stressful. But he said, at the end, despite the exhaustion, there was this deep sense of fulfillment. Purpose seemed key.
That makes sense. Stressful situations with a clear goal, a sense of meaning, and an endpoint feel very different from just random, unending pressure.
Exactly. He contrasted it with the kind of ongoing, unplanned work stress he really dislikes. So context is everything. It's not about loving stress itself.
It's about recognizing that some types of pressure, in manageable doses, might actually be necessary to keep us sharp, engaged, to avoid becoming, as he put it, just lost.
Yeah. He even sounded surprised himself to have reached episode 50 and felt pretty energized despite having a stressful day. A nice balanced way to look at it.
It really is a more mature perspective on stress.
So that wraps up our whirlwind tour of SIP's last 5 deep dives on Shower Podcast. Quite a journey, huh?
Definitely. From struggle and success to croissants, hard work, being wrong, and even finding value in stress.
We covered overcoming adversity, the simple power of routines, why challenges matter, the freedom in questioning things, and yeah, that nuanced take on pressure.
A really rich mix of ideas for personal growth and just thinking about life differently.
So if any of these topics really clicked with you, we definitely suggest going back to listen to the full episodes. SIP's storytelling really brings them to life.
Absolutely, you get much more detail in his personal reflections.
And maybe just take a moment to consider which of these ideas resonates most with you right now.
Yeah, what's the one insight that could potentially have the biggest impact on your life? And maybe what's one tiny step you could take today just to explore that a little further?
Something to think about. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.